Just when the Detroit Lions needed it most, they provided it. A complete game, one where the offense and defense were working perfectly with one another. After a strong showing against the Broncos, the Lions are primed to finish strong over the rest of the season. We're going to talk about it in today's episode, folks, so stay tuned.
We used to be a team no one respected. We used to be a team no one feared. That was then. This is now.
First victory of the year on the line. Goff's got it. Back, looks, throws, end zone. Yes! Caught!
You know who we are.
10-5, end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions!
And you know where to find us. We won't be far. We'll be on your front porch waiting for you. We are the New Era Lions. And
we are driven by Detroit.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving in right now. But before we dive in, I just want to say thank you all to those that are coming back. Thank you all for my loyal subscribers that keep coming back and watching the content. It absolutely means the world to me. Thank you all for your view, your support, and your patronage. And to those that are tuning into my show for the very first time, I just want to say thank you all for giving my show a shot. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the content, but even more so, I hope to gain your subscription if I've earned and deserved it. And with that being said, I just want to say to everybody, God bless. I hope you have a good day today, and let's dive into the show. So here's the thing, folks. I'm just going to say this right now. That game that we saw of the Detroit Lions against the Denver Broncos, that was literally like a game to answer prayers, because that was a game we have not seen from the Detroit Lions arguably since we played against the Carolina Panthers way back in the first third of the season. That was a game that we needed to see the Lions do for several reasons. That was a game that goes without saying that revealed several things about the Lions, and it really allowed the Lions to kind of show that, hey, they're for real. That there is a lot of actual validation behind the Lions. Yes, we had a crappy month of November and the early part of December, but it's like, listen, the last 4 weeks, I think that was the Lions kind of refiguring themselves out, kind of getting back to what they do best. But it's like, listen, that game against the Denver Broncos, I'm going to just say it right now, that was kind of like a wake-up call in my opinion. That was kind of like, okay, this is who we really are. This is what the Lions really are, and this is what they can really do. And like I said, that game against the Broncos just goes without saying. That was a game that not only the Lions needed to win for several reasons as a team, but it was a game that we as Lions fans needed the Lions to win for several reasons. And we're going to talk about that and how that all fits together as we start going into the end of the year here. So without further ado, let's get into it here. So what was one of the first reasons that I could think of as to why the Lions needed to win that game? First reason I could think of, validate Dan Campbell. Now, that's going to sound a little bit weird here, but understand what I'm saying here. Regardless of what a lot of people have said about Dan Campbell, we all know Dan Campbell is arguably the most popular Detroit Lions head coach that has been in Detroit since the days of Jim Caldwell. And then before that, probably Wayne Fontes. But we have to understand something here. Popularity don't mean a whole lot around here, because it's like, listen, popularity aside, what do we want to see? We want to see success. Here's the thing. Dan Campbell had a winning season last year. Dan Campbell has a winning season this year. But what were we wanting to see? We were wanting to see that Dan Campbell could actually develop a team, build a team that could actually get over the hump. And part of getting over the hump was winning games like this. But even more so than just the game and the atmosphere of what it provided, it's like, listen, the Lions needed to win this game to validate Dan Campbell another way. Because this was a game where he was going up against his mentor, the guy that taught him all that he knows about coaching, in Sean Payton. And it's like, listen, when you went against a coach like that, your mentor, the guy that taught you everything you know, and he knows what you're going to think just like what you're going to know what he's going to think, that right there is a huge thing. Because it's like, listen, at that point, you're now starting to play a really, really competitive chess match here. And furthermore, you got to think about it this way. That was the second time this year that the Detroit Lions have gone up against a Super Bowl winning head coach and actually won. So again, and the other guy we won was against Andy Reid, in case anyone forgot about that. But again, The point of the matter is that win against the Broncos and Sean Payton, it validates that what Dan Campbell is doing, his methodology, his culture, how he gets this team ready is effective. And again, that is important. But now let's move to the second thing that we needed to see from this win. That was one of the several reasons that we needed to see, not only for the Lions but us fans. It shows that the Lions offense can win against tough defenses. Again, like I said, going back to that last month here, one of the things we kept hearing was that, listen, regardless of what's going on with the defense, this Lions offense has got to find ways to beat those tough defenses. Otherwise, we're screwed. We're dead in the water. Because let's be fair here. The Lions defense for the majority of the year has not shown a lot of promise. We'll get to that here in a little bit here, so don't think I'm going to dog the defense. I'm just saying in terms of reality of what had happened prior to this. We all knew that if the Lions offense could play well against tough defenses, we would be able to win. But the last month, it looked like the Lions offense was sputtering. It was having problems. But I'm going to tell you this right now. That Lions offense, it came out against the Denver Broncos defense, and it literally lit them up like a damn Christmas tree. It was a sight to behold, because you really got to think about this. You have to think about just how damn difficult, how good that Denver Broncos defense had been playing up until they played us on Saturday night in primetime. Think about this, folks. Let's go back to Week 6. I checked this out on Twitter, and I backed it up with the stats, but think about this. Since Week 6, the Denver Broncos defense has been first in third down conversion percentage against opposing offenses, only allowing a conversion rate of 27.7%. They have been tied first in the total number of turnovers that they've garnered with 19. They have been ranked second in points per game that they've been given up to opposing offense, only allowing 16 points. They have been ranked second in amount of passing touchdowns per game, only allowing 1.5 touchdown passes per game on their defense. They have been sixth in passer rating given up to opposing quarterbacks with a measly 77 passer rating, and they have been ranked 8th in completion percentage that they've given up to opposing quarterbacks with a 60.5% completion rate. I'm just going to tell you this right now. You take a look at those stats, that right there tells me that this offense came to play. This tells me that offense came out firing, because you got to think about this here. In that game against the Broncos, the Lions were 50% on third down, almost double the rate than what the Broncos had been giving up until that point. The Lions gave 0 turnovers to the Broncos when they had garnered 19 since Week 6. For a team that had been giving up turnovers left and right for the previous 4 weeks, that is massive kudos. That is extremely impressive. Then we go to the points per game. The Lions put 42 points on the Broncos defense since Week 6 was not even giving up 20 points per game on average. If you realistically think about it, I think since Week 6 they had given up maybe 20 points 3 times. That's a pretty good thing to do when you put a 40 burger on a defense like that. Then think about this. Jared Goff put 5 touchdown passes on that defense when on average they were only giving up 1.5 touchdown passes per game, which meant you would be lucky if you got 2 in a game as a quarterback. Jared Goff not only doubled that, he damn near tripled it. Then you take a look at the passer rating. 77 passer rating on average for that defense since Week 6. Jared Goff said, okay, hold my beer, and goes out and damn near doubles it in one game. Then you take a look at the completion percentage. Completion percentage was at 60.5% since Week 6. Jared Goff goes out and throws 10% higher than the average. Think about that. That shows just how electric, how commanding, how dominating, how explosive this Lions offense was against arguably one of the best defenses in the NFL for almost the last 10 weeks. Almost 10 weeks, this defense that we just went up against has been dominating opponents. Because you have to think about it here. Like I said, the Lions put up 42 points. The best amount of points that a team was able to put up against the freaking, against the freaking Broncos was 24 points. 24 points. The Lions almost doubled that in just one game. That is impressive. And then again, like I was talking about the whole quarterback situation, Jared Goff goes out and has a performance for the ages, not only for himself, but also for the Lions. Think about this. You want to know who is the next best quarterback that since Week 6 has done what Jared Goff did? That was Jordan Love when they played the Packers in Week 7. So 1 week after this whole thing started for them. In that game, Jordan Love was 21 of 31 for 67.7 completion percentage rate, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 83.3 QBR with a 90.8 passer rating. The only thing that Jordan Love beat Jared Goff in was the QBR rating. Otherwise, Jared Goff completely blew Jordan Love out of the water. Was not even close. So think about that. This Lions offense comes out and it validates the fact that, yes, we can beat really good defenses in the month of December, which that is very important to do when we're getting into these final stretch of games, especially going into the playoffs. But it's not just the offense. We have to think about this here. Let's talk about both the offense and defense here really quickly. Like I said, complete game. You're talking about a team that since the Panthers has not really had a complete game or complete, what's the word I'm looking for here? Complementary football between the offense and defense. But think about this game against the Broncos. The Lions offense starts out with 3 3-and-outs or 3 stall drives to start the game. Then after 3 stall drives, they have 5 straight drives from the end of the first quarter until the end of the third quarter where they're putting up points. 5 straight drives where they get touchdowns. That's pretty damn impressive. But it's not just that with the offense. Think about this. The Lions also got over their third quarter lull, their third quarter drought, because when they got into the third quarter, they had 2 drives in the third quarter. Both of them resulted in touchdowns. That's, again, impressive. But think about this as well. Think about the defense. Again, I told y'all I wasn't going to razz the defense. The defense played actually really freaking good against the Broncos. Really freaking good. This is probably the best this defense has looked since the Falcons game, which was like, what, week 4 or something like that? Think about that. In that game that we had against the Broncos, the Lions defense for 6 straight drives gave up no points. The very first drive, they get a turnover, and the next 5 drives up until the end of halftime, they give up no points. Literally no points. It is fumble, then punt, and then if end of downs to go into the half period. That's how dominating that defense was for the first half of that game. They didn't even let the Broncos offense breathe, let alone get anywhere. And then think about this. What has been one of the biggest gripes about Aaron Glenn's defense? And I've said it multiple times, but everybody knows this. The biggest gripe that people have had about Aaron Glenn's defense, you cannot stop mobile quarterbacks. Russell Wilson is still a mobile quarterback, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in terms of fourth quarter comebacks, in terms of active quarterbacks right now. He's just behind Matthew Stafford. So he's still a threat. He's still a danger. The Lions pretty much contained. They bottled Russell Wilson all night, didn't allow him to make any plays with his legs, and on top of that, they got after him consistently and effectively all night. Russell Wilson was getting hit, he was getting sacked, he was having throws that were being affected. That was by far the best use of defense that I've seen from Aaron Glenn in applying pressure and getting after a mobile quarterback to completely throw them off their game. That's the kind of defense I've been looking for because I know that defense was there. I've seen it before. But it's just like, again, like I said, way back in the beginning, I'm like, listen, the problem with Aaron Glenn has been the consistency factor. It's like, okay, I see you, Aaron Glenn. This is the kind of defense that I know you can put out. I want to see it next week against the Minnesota Vikings. But we'll get to that there on Sunday. Let's enjoy the Denver Broncos game for a moment here. Now, that was the other thing that was really something we needed to see from this Lions team, not only for themselves, but also for us. But you got to think about this too. What was another thing that we needed to see to kind of also add on to this? This game really also showed and realized that Holmes' rookies are vindicating his draft class, especially this last one. You got to think about it. The 2021 draft class, like I said, nobody really batted an eyelash. 2022, again, nobody batted an eyelash. Everyone was like, yay, great job for Brad Holmes. He's doing a really good job. This draft class, a completely different story, and it comes down to 2 primary picks. Freaking Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. And you got to think about it. Why? Because everybody talked about, myself included, that if you were going to draft a first-round running back, it was not going to be a good idea. The only reason that Gibbs makes sense is because, hey, we have David Montgomery who can take over the majority of the load that allows Gibbs to be more of that specialty running back. So there's that. But again, I was still hesitant to go like, I'm not so sure about the whole Gibbs pick because of the first-round draft pick. But I'm like, I'll give Holmes the benefit of the doubt here. But when it comes to the Laporta pick, a lot of Lions fans were not cool with that because they're like, another high-round draft tight end? They didn't want to hear it. But you got to think about it here. Those two rookies in particular, not to mention Jack Campbell and Brian Branch because they have helped out immensely in their own right, but those two rookies, Gibbs and Laporta, have been absolutely instrumental to this Lions team's ability to get to 10-4 right now. You got to think about it. That game against the Broncos, Gibbs has 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving, 1 rushing, and also puts up 100 yards rushing on only 11 carries. Had 9.1 in average. But think about this over the course of the season. Jahmyr Gibbs has only rushed the ball 139 times and almost has 800 yards rushing on the ground. He almost is averaging 6 a pop on the ground with 7 rushing touchdowns. Think about this, it gets even better. There are still 3 games left on the season. All Jahmyr Gibbs needs to get to 1,000 yards rushing is 208 yards. And he would be the first Lions rookie running back since 2004 with Kevin Jones to break that 1,000-yard barrier. Think about how impressive that would be for Jahmyr Gibbs because right now he's already got freaking 500 receiving yards for the year right now, okay? Or does he? I don't know. Either way, Gibbs has been playing lights out. There's a good possibility he could have 1,000 yards rushing and 500 yards receiving, depending upon how the end of the year plays out. That's my whole point. And if not, still doesn't matter. Gibbs is being electric. For a rookie running back to be doing this amount of damage, this is impressive, especially when you consider the fact that everybody said that freaking his counterpart, Bijan Robinson was going to be the better running back. I'm going to say this right now. I think freaking Gibbs is giving Bijan a run for his money. But that's not the only rookie we need to talk about here. We need to talk about Sam Laporta here. Think about this, folks. Sam Laporta has 5 receptions in that game against the Broncos. 3 of them go for touchdowns. So more than 60% of his production in terms of receptions was in the end zone. He had 5 receptions, 56 touchdowns for almost 11.5 an average a catch for 3 receiving touchdowns. That's a great night because you got to think about this here. Those 3 receiving touchdowns, that sets the Lions receiving record for most receiving touchdowns caught by a Lions rookie. You want to know who was the last person that held that record? That was Roy Williams in 2004. Think about that. That is a record that has been held by a Lions player for going on almost 20 years. So Laporta has broken that record on top of a bevy of other records. Think about this. Sam Laporta on the year, 71 receptions, 758 yards, has a 10.7 average a catch, has 9 receiving touchdowns. Think about this. Those 758 yards that he has as a receiving tight end, that's 6th most all-time by a rookie. That's even more than Rob Gronkowski had his rookie year, almost by 200-plus yards. So there's that. Makes sense why Gronkowski likes Laporta as much as he does. Makes sense why I like Laporta as much as I do. But think about this too. He has 758 yards on the year. He's 19 yards short of either tying or breaking Brandon Pettigrew's receiving record for most receiving yards in a season by a tight end. Think about that. Most receiving yards by a tight end, he is 19 yards short for the Detroit Lions. As a rookie, he's almost broke that record. Because think about it, he's already broke the record for most receiving yards by a tight end for the Lions as a rookie. He's about to break the record held by all tight ends for the Detroit Lions in his rookie year. That's damn impressive. Oh, and before I forget, he's also only 155 yards short of breaking Amon-Ra St. Brown's receiving record for a rookie. Because Amon-Ra St. Brown holds the record for Detroit Lions rookies for most receiving yards in a season with 912, which he set 2 years ago. So he's 155 yards short of breaking that record. And we already know how damn good Amon-Ra St. Brown is, and Sam Laporta is about to break that record as well. That's just how damn good Sam Laporta has been, folks. And I've been saying it ever since we drafted the kid. Now, finally, we have to think about this too. This is something else that I think helped realize something for not only the Lions, but also Lions fans. This was a game that showed that the Lions can win playoff football. I'm dead serious about that too. Think about this. Make no mistake about it. This game that we just had against the Broncos not only showed that we can win big games, because this was a big game, it was a primetime game. Primetime games are big games. But think about this too. This was a game against the Broncos that was a playoff game. It may not have been in the actual playoffs, but this was a game that had a playoff atmosphere because there were huge implications for both teams in this game. Think about it. The Lions needed to win this game so that way they had a better chance to get into the playoffs and to help them secure the divisional title. Think about that. Because without winning this game, it gets much more difficult on both fronts. But winning the game, they're almost guaranteed a lock to get into the playoffs at this point, and they are one game away from winning a division title, something they have not done since 1993. Why was this game important to the Broncos? Because this was an important game for them just to keep their playoff hopes alive. Because going into this game, before they lost, they had a 40% chance of making the playoffs. I don't know what it is right now, but they needed to win this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. Those hopes just got a massive blow taken to them, especially after how they lost against the Lions. That's my whole point. Even though this might not have been a playoff game like an actual one, this game had playoff implications, and it definitely had a playoff atmosphere because not only was it that, it was also a primetime game. So think about it. All of these things were things that the Lions showed, they proved, they gave a realization to fans that yes, you have reason to have hope. You have reason to have faith in us. You have reason to take a look at these last 3 games that we have, 2 against the Vikings, 1 against the Cowboys, and be like, okay, we have 3 games left of the regular season here, and they're all in December, save the last one. So it's like, listen, these are important games that are coming up in December and January, and I believe fully that the Lions will win at least 2 of those 3, and I'm telling you which 2 it's going to be. I'm telling you it's going to be the Vikings games that I think they're going to win. I'm not sure about the Cowboys game yet. I still think they lose that one, but after what I saw against the Broncos, I think they can at least be competitive. I'm not going to say win, but I think they can be competitive against the Cowboys and finish the year with a 12-5 record. But we'll see. This game definitely showed a lot of things about the Lions. It showed their mental toughness, and it showed their ability to once again take adversity on the chin, and it showed the fact that these Lions, they are playing, and they are playing hard for each other and for their head coach. But with that having been said, I feel like I've fully put it out there. I'm absolutely ecstatic about how this team has played. And with that being said, I just want to say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage you all to do one of these 3 things. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you did so at the time, but you just forgot, if you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and not had a chance to do so, pardon me, I'm so excited here, please, please, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. But also, after you subscribe, please make sure to also turn on that bell notification icon that goes right next to it, so that way you never miss any more content. Again, subscription numbers are always going up, but we want to turn on that notification so that way as soon as I push something out, you guys can always get back into the channel, we can have great discussions, and we can keep this good time going. I also want to encourage y'all, please, to do this to also help in that endeavor. Share the content with your Lions friends and family members. The more people that see it, the more people we're going to get in. So please, share it with your Lions family, friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. And with that being said, folks, I just want to again say thank you all for watching my content. Thank you all for being a loyal subscriber if you're coming back. And if you just came into the show, again, I just want to say thank you all for, again, watching the content. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I gained your subscription. And if not, please come back and give me another chance. I hope to get it at that time. But until that next time, I just want to say thank you all for watching the show. And until said next time, I'll see you all in the next episode.